The Caterpillar D10 was first announced in 1977 and it was the first tractor to feature a high drive sprocket. It stayed in production until 1986. This 1:48 scale model of the D10 is by Classic Construction Models and features a U-blade and ripper. The packaging is certainly very good. For shipping, it comes in a cardboard outer carton, and the box itself is contained inside with polystyrene spacers, and when you pull the box out, it's very nicely wrapped in tissue paper. The box itself is a smart presentation style box, but the only negative point is that there's no information about the real machine, which would have been nice for a historic model. An interesting feature of the box is that the polystyrene trays are fixed into the top and bottom halves, so they stay joined together. And the model itself is wrapped in tissue, and bear in mind that this is a precision model, so it needs to be handled with a little bit of care. The only other parts in the box are the ripper and a fixing pin. Although there are no instructions, assembly of the model is very straightforward. You just push the ripper through its holder, and then using the brass pin you just pin it into place in one of the 3 holes that exist in the ripper. And to adjust its setting, it's easy enough just to pull it out and repin it. With the model built, we can start looking at the detail, and starting underneath we can see that it's solidly made and has detail to reflect the structure. The tracks consist of individual metal track pads, and it's good to see that the rollers along the bottom of the track frame are real rollers and actually rotate, and the detail on the drive sprocket is very good, as you can see with bolt head details. The cab windows have seals, and there are wipers front and back, and there's also a fire extinguisher on the outside, and the walkway outside the cab has got a nicely finished non-slip surface. Looking around the engine area, the mesh grille looks great, the metal handrails are of a fine gauge, and the plastic engine has got some good detailing with hoses. Looking at the front, the radiator grille is see-through, there are painted headlights, and the main U-blade lift cylinders have hydraulic hoses. The connections to the U-blade are all made well, and the cylinder jacket is really detailed, much better than those that you normally see on models like this, and the top of the blade has holes in which could be used as lifting eyes. The U-blade itself is a large heavy piece with anti-wear plates along the bottom edge. At the rear, the ripper assembly is modelled equally well with hydraulic lines and some good detailing, with the colour match on the cylinder jackets being particularly good, and the ripper tooth looks suitably aggressive. Now we'll look at the features, starting with the rolling test, and the tracks don't quite roll freely enough to work on a smooth surface, but on any other surface they'd be fine. The good news is that each set of tracks does roll independently, which is good for turning, and you can see that they've got a good working track tensioner arrangement. Also, the 2 track frames are linked transversely so that they can move relatively to each other if they're going over rough ground. At the front, the movement of the U-blade is good. The cylinders are stiff enough to hold any pose you want to set, so the blade can be raised and lowered and pushed forward and backwards, and also there's a small degree of tilt that it's possible to set through that mechanism. At the back of the tractor, the ripper attachment has a similar stiff mechanism to the front, so it will hold any pose that you want to set. It can be raised and lowered, and the tooth can also be set in or out, and if we just lift the model up you can see that the whole ripper arrangement does actually go down to quite a deep level. Of course, as you saw earlier, it's also possible to set the ripper tooth at one of 3 different levels of extension. To summarise, the CCM model of the Caterpillar D10 is a very nice model. It has plenty of detail and is generally of a fine quality. It's the kind of model that looks great sitting on a desk in front of you, and it's an outstanding model of this type of machine.